Grandma's 45 clever poor man hacks that will blow your mind and make life easier. 1. Use soap slivers in a mesh bag for hand washing. Clothes. Grandma didn't waste a single thing, not even the tiniest bits of soap. She'd gather all those leftover slivers and pop them into an old mesh produce bag or a piece of netting tied with string. That little bundle became her go-to laundry soap, especially for hand washing delicate items in the sink. She'd swish it around in warm water until the suds came alive, and scrub socks, undergarments, and dish rags with it until they looked good as new. Not only did it use every last bit of soap, but the mesh also created just enough friction to act like a gentle scrubber. It was smart, simple, and completely free. One of those little things that showed just how much Grandma valued thrift and practicality. Today, it's still one of the smartest laundry hacks for saving money and avoiding waste. 2. Turn a broken umbrella into a drying rack. When an umbrella broke, most folks tossed it in the trash, but not Grandma. She'd remove the torn fabric and prop the frame open in a corner of the porch or kitchen. Suddenly, it became a clever drying rack for socks, cloth napkins, or rags. The metal spokes worked perfectly for hanging items, and the shape let everything air out evenly without taking up much space. On sunny days, she'd even set it outside and let the sun work its magic. It was such a strange-looking contraption, guests would chuckle, but it worked like a charm. Grandma proved that you didn't need money to be resourceful, just a little imagination and the will to make things work. 3. Use newspaper to polish glass and mirrors. Forget fancy window cleaners. Grandma had her go-to solution for crystal clear glass. She'd mix equal parts vinegar and water in a spray bottle and wipe it down with balled-up newspaper instead of paper towels. The print never smeared, and the paper left behind a streak-free shine that looked better than any commercial cleaner. She even used it on bathroom mirrors, car windows, and glass cabinet doors. The secret was in the texture of the newspaper. It absorbed grime without leaving lint. This trick cost next to nothing and worked better than products 10 times the price. Grandma always had a stack of yesterday's paper handy, not just for reading, but for polishing everything until it sparkled. 4. Patch clothes with scraps and embroidery. Instead of buying new clothes every time something tore, Grandma pulled out her scrap basket. She had little squares of fabric from old dresses, curtains, and even pillowcases. When she patched a hole, she didn't just sew it up, she made it pretty. A quick bit of stitching, sometimes even decorative embroidery, turned the flaw into a feature. She made stars on elbows, flowers on knees, and hearts on aprons. Every patch told a little story. Her patched clothes didn't look ragged, they looked loved. And every grandkid wanted a pair of Grandma's Knees pants. It was creative, beautiful, and saved money with every stitch. 5. Use salt to clean cast iron pans. Grandma never used soap on her cast iron pans. Instead, after cooking, she'd sprinkle coarse salt into the warm pan and scrub it with a wadded-up rag or half a potato. The salt scoured away food bits without harming the seasoned surface. Then she'd wipe it clean and rub in a little oil to keep it seasoned and rust-free. That pan lasted decades and cooked better every year. She believed that cast iron had soul, and soap would steal it. The salt method was cheap, gentle, and effective. It kept her cookware in perfect shape without spending a dime on fancy cleaners. And every meal that came out of it tasted like something from home. 6. Make a door draft stopper with old socks and rice. In winter, Grandma hated wasting heat. She'd take one of Grandpa's old wool socks, fill it with dry rice or beans, and tie the end shut. Then she'd lay it along the base of the door to block cold drafts from sneaking in. Sometimes she'd use a line of them along windowsills, too. These homemade draft stoppers kept rooms noticeably warmer and made the old house cozier without turning up the thermostat. She'd even decorate them with buttons and scraps to match the season. Snowflakes in winter, flowers in spring. They were reusable year after year and cost almost nothing to make. No foam or plastic gadgets needed, just a sock, some rice, and Grandma's magic touch. 7. Reuse cereal bags for freezer storage. Grandma never threw away the waxy inner liners from cereal boxes. She'd shake out the crumbs, wipe them clean, and use them to wrap up leftovers, stack pancakes, or store homemade cookies in the freezer. They were thicker than plastic wrap and didn't get brittle like sandwich bags in the cold. When she ran out of wax paper, these liners stepped in. She'd even cut them into strips for rolling dough or grating cheese on. It was one of her favorite zero-cost kitchen tools, and one that most people never throw. 8. Turn coffee grounds into deodorizer. Nothing went to waste in Grandma's kitchen, especially not the morning coffee grounds. After brewing her pot, she'd spread the damp grounds out on a plate to dry, then scoop them into a bowl and stash it in the fridge or under the sink. They soaked up odors better than any air freshener. She even put small jars of dried grounds in the closet to keep mustiness away, or in the car to neutralize stale smells. Sometimes she'd rub them into her hands after chopping garlic to kill the scent. Free, natural, and effective, coffee grounds were Grandma's hidden deodorizing weapon. And best of all, they came with her daily cup of joe. 9. Use bread ends to clean coffee grinders. When her coffee grinder got gummed up with old grounds or spice dust, Grandma didn't clean it with soap and water. Instead, she tossed in a torn-up bread heel and pulsed it for a few seconds. The crumbs soaked up oil and loosened stuck-on particles like magic. After that, she'd dump it out and wipe the inside clean with a dry rag. It was quick, easy, and safe for the blades. The grinder smelled fresh and was ready for another use, without any harsh chemicals. Another example of how Grandma used what she had and made it work better than store-bought solutions. 10. Make a mop from a t-shirt and a broom handle. When the old mop gave out, Grandma didn't run to the store. She grabbed one of Grandpa's threadbare shirts, cut it into wide strips, and tied them tightly around a broomstick. That DIY mop worked better than anything she'd bought. The soft cotton soaked up spills quickly, and she could untie the rags to wash them in the laundry. No plastic pieces, no replacement heads, just a homemade tool that kept on working. She used it on wood floors, porch steps, and even the chicken coop. Cheap, washable, and made with love. That's how Grandma cleaned up. 11. Create a DIY air freshener with baking soda and essential oil. Grandma didn't buy fancy air fresheners. Instead, she took a small mason jar, filled it halfway with baking soda, and added 10 to 15 drops of whatever essential oil she had on hand, usually lavender or lemon. She poked holes in the jar lid, or sometimes stretched a piece of old fabric over the top with a rubber band. The baking soda absorbed odors, while the oil added a fresh, subtle scent. These jars went into closets, bathrooms, and under sinks. They lasted for weeks and could be recharged by stirring or adding more oil. Homemade, long-lasting, and non-toxic, it smelled like home. 12. Turn pantyhose into produce bags. When her old nylons got runs or holes, Grandma didn't toss them. She turned them into breathable storage for garlic, onions, and potatoes. She'd cut off the legs, tie off one end, drop in a few onions, tie another knot, and continue. Hung in a cool, dark pantry, these bags kept her produce fresh longer by allowing air to circulate. They prevented sprouting and mold much better than plastic. She even labeled each bundle with a clothespin, a clever repurpose that saved money, cut waste, and kept her kitchen stocked with fresh staples longer. 13. Use a spoon to remove pet hair from upholstery. Grandma didn't need lint rollers. She grabbed an old metal spoon and gently scraped it across the couch cushions or her wool coat. The edge lifted pet hair and fuzz like magic, clumping it up so she could toss it out. She said it worked better than a vacuum for corners and seams. For sweaters, she'd use the spoon's edge to shave off pilling without damaging the knit. This little trick came in handy every day, especially with her big orange tabby always shedding. It cost nothing and saved her time. 14. Patch holes with denim and embroidery. When her jeans tore, Grandma didn't toss them. She patched them with scrap denim and added a little flourish with colorful embroidery thread. She'd stitch on hearts, flowers, or simple shapes, making each repair look like a decoration. These patches held strong and gave her clothes personality. She even taught the grandkids how to sew their initials into their pants. Her patched-up jeans became her signature look, durable, thrifty, and full of character. To Grandma, every tear was a chance to make something even better. 15. Use newspaper to clean windows. Forget paper towels. Grandma swore by newspaper for streak-free window cleaning. She'd spray a vinegar and water solution onto the glass, then crumple up yesterday's news and wipe it down. The ink acted as a polishing agent, leaving the glass crystal clear. No lint, no smears, just clean shine. She'd tackle mirrors, picture frames, and car windows the same way. It worked every time, and she never had to buy special cloths. Simple and sustainable, just the way she liked it. 16. Make a cooling rag with salt and water. During hot summers, Grandma would wet a cotton rag, sprinkle a bit of salt on it, and store it in the icebox. When she was working in the garden or hanging laundry, She'd pull it out and drape it around her neck. The salt helped it stay cooler longer and kept it from drying stiff. It was her homemade air conditioner. Sometimes she'd add a drop of peppermint oil for a refreshing tingle. It kept her cool on the hottest days and cost next to nothing. 17. Repurposed jars for everything. Grandma saved every glass jar, pickle jars, sauce jars, even baby food containers. They became spice jars, drinking glasses, button holders, or mini vases. She removed labels with a soak in warm water and a bit of baking soda. Her shelves were full of neatly labeled jars stacked with dry goods, crafts, or leftovers. No need for store-bought containers when you had a clean, sturdy jar ready to go. It made her pantry look like a country store. Organized, charming, and waste-free. 18. Stop squeaky floors with baby powder. Whenever the hallway creaked, Grandma didn't call a handyman. She grabbed a container of baby powder. She'd sprinkle it over the seams where the boards rubbed, then use a broom to sweep it into the cracks. The powder reduced friction and quieted the noise immediately. If it didn't work the first time, she'd repeat it a day later. This simple trick made tiptoeing to the kitchen for a midnight snack much less noisy, and the floor smelled nice too. 19. Use candle wax to unstick drawers. Sticky wooden drawers used to drive Grandma crazy. Her fix? Rubbing an old candle along the runners. The wax lubricated the wood just enough to let it glide smoothly. She kept a stub of unscented candle in her sewing kit just for this purpose. Sometimes she'd use bar soap in a pinch. Either way, it worked wonders, and saved her from replacing furniture or using force. She said, "Things don't always need fixing, just a little help to slide." 20. Make a homemade funnel with paper or foil. When she needed to pour rice into a jar or oil into a bottle, Grandma didn't waste time looking for a funnel. She rolled up a piece of stiff paper or foil into a cone and used that. If she needed it sturdier, she'd tape the edge. It worked for dry and wet goods alike. Afterward, she'd toss or flatten it for another use. No need to buy gadgets when your kitchen drawer had everything you needed. That was Grandma's style. Clever, quick, and effective. 21. Use bread clips to label cords. Grandma always hated tangled cords behind the TV or under the desk, so she saved those plastic bread bag clips and wrote on them with a marker: TV, lamp, toaster. Then she snapped each one onto its cord near the plug. It looked simple, but it made a world of difference when she needed to unplug just one item. No more guessing or yanking the wrong cord. Plus, the clips were free, durable, and didn't take up space. It was her kind of organization: easy, cheap, and smart. 22. Make a DIY ice pack with rice and a sock. When someone had a bump or bruise, Grandma didn't run to the store. She grabbed a clean old sock, filled it with rice, and tied it shut. She kept it in the freezer so it was always ready to go. The rice molded to the body and held the cold for a long time. For warmth, she microwaved it for a minute and used it for sore muscles or cold feet. 2 uses, 1 item, and no extra cost. Just soft, cozy relief, whenever and wherever needed. 23. Keep paint fresh with plastic wrap. After painting a room or a piece of furniture, Grandma always had leftover paint. Instead of tossing it or letting it dry out, she placed a layer of plastic wrap right on top of the paint surface inside the can before sealing the lid. It kept the air out and prevented the paint from forming a crust. Sometimes she'd even write the date and room name on the lid so she knew where it came from. This hack saved her from buying extra cans for touch-ups down the road. 24. Fix a zipper with a pencil or soap. When a zipper got stuck, Grandma didn't panic. She'd grab a graphite pencil and rub it along the teeth, or sometimes use a sliver of dry soap. The material would lubricate the zipper just enough to glide again. She fixed backpacks, coats, and even her old coin purse this way. No trips to the tailor or tossing out good items. It worked fast, and it was the kind of everyday genius that made her feel like a magician with just a bar of soap and a pencil. 25. Reuse envelopes as shopping lists. Instead of wasting clean paper, Grandma reused old envelopes, especially junk mail ones. She'd jot down her grocery list on the back and stuff coupons inside. When she went to the store, everything was in one place. List on the outside, savings on the inside. It fit perfectly in her purse and made her feel organized. She said it helped her stick to her budget too, since she planned everything ahead. It turned mail clutter into a money-saving system. 26. Use shower caps to cover food bowls. Plastic wrap was expensive and fussy, so Grandma reused clean shower caps to cover food bowls and platters. The elastic edge fit snugly and made it easy to remove and replace. She kept a few in her kitchen drawer, especially for covering leftovers, rising dough, or fresh fruit. They were reusable, washable, and worked better than most plastic lids. It was the kind of trick that looked odd but worked perfectly, and always got a chuckle from guests. 27. Patch wall holes with toothpaste. For small nail holes or dings in the wall, Grandma used white toothpaste instead of spackle. She squeezed a little into the hole, smoothed it with her finger or a butter knife, and let it dry. Once dry, it blended right into the wall, especially if it was already painted white. She said it was perfect for quick touch-ups before company came or renters moved out. It smelled minty too. Cheap, fast, and surprisingly effective, just like most of her solutions. 28. Save leftover soap slivers in a sock. When a bar of soap got too small to use, Grandma stuffed it into a small mesh bag or old sock. Once it had a few pieces, she'd tie it off and use it like a scrubby in the bath or at the sink. The fabric lathered well and acted like a washcloth. It kept all the scraps together and made sure nothing went to waste. She said it worked even better than store-bought loofahs, simple, resourceful, and full of that grandma charm. 29. Turn cereal boxes into drawer organizers. When she needed to tame junk drawers or organize her sewing kit, Grandma cut up cereal boxes into little trays. She'd trim the edges to fit and arrange them like puzzle pieces inside a drawer. They held pens, pins, tape, scissors, whatever needed corralling. She even decorated them with scraps of wrapping paper or fabric for a prettier look. It was free, easy, and gave her drawers that satisfying, organized feel she loved. 30. Store plastic bags in a tissue box. Instead of letting plastic bags pile up, Grandma stuffed them into an empty tissue box. She'd pull them out one at a time as needed, like for lining trash bins or packing shoes. The box fit neatly in a cabinet or under the sink. She even kept one in the car. It kept clutter down and gave her a handy supply of bags without mess. No fancy organizers needed, just reuse, repurpose, and keep things tidy. 31. Repair minor scratches with walnut. When furniture got light scratches, Grandma rubbed the spot with a shelled walnut. The natural oils and soft grit filled in the scratch and blended the color. After a quick buff with a cloth, the blemish nearly disappeared. It worked best on dark wood, like table legs or dressers. She called it nature's polish and used it all over the house. Cheap, effective, and pretty clever, if you ask me. 32. Use a tension rod under the sink. To make better use of the space under her kitchen sink, Grandma installed a spring-loaded tension rod. She hung spray bottles from it, keeping them off the bottom shelf and freeing up room for sponges and scrub brushes. It was easy to remove or adjust and didn't require tools. A few bucks and 5 minutes turned that messy cabinet into a tidy little cleaning station. 33. Freeze grapes for ice cubes. Grandma loved her sweet tea cold, but never watered down, so she froze grapes and used them instead of ice. They kept the drink chilled and added a touch of flavor without melting. She did the same with berries in lemonade or cucumber slices in water. It looked pretty and tasted even better. Guests thought it was fancy, but really, it was just another smart use of what she had on hand. 34. Keep buttons from falling off with clear polish. Whenever Grandma bought a new blouse, she'd dab a little clear nail polish on each button's threads. It sealed them and kept the stitches from unraveling. This tiny step saved her from losing buttons in the middle of the day and extended the life of her clothes. It worked on coats, shirts, even pillow covers. One bottle lasted years, and she said it paid for itself 10 times over. 35. Wrap banana stems in foil to slow ripening bananas ripening too fast. Grandma wrapped the stems in aluminum foil or plastic wrap. It slowed the release of ethylene gas, which meant her bananas lasted several days longer. She said it saved money and reduced waste, especially helpful when she bought in bulk. She even separated the bunch to slow things down further. It was a small habit that made a big difference in the kitchen. When furniture got light scratches, Grandma rubbed the spot with a shelled walnut. The natural oils and soft grit filled in the scratch and blended the color. After a quick buff with a cloth, the blemish nearly disappeared. It worked best on dark wood, like table legs or dressers. She called it nature's polish and used it all over the house. Cheap, effective, and pretty clever, if you ask me. Better use of the space under her kitchen sink, Grandma installed a spring-loaded tension rod. She hung spray bottles from it, keeping them off the bottom shelf and freeing up room for sponges and scrub brushes. It was easy to remove or adjust and didn't require tools. A few bucks and 5 minutes turned that messy cabinet into a tidy little cleaning station